She doesn't miss you. She misses the idea of losing you. The power she thought she had, slipping quietly through her fingers. And it's in this silence where everything begins to crumble. Because what hurts isn't the absence of messages, it's the emptiness they left when they existed. Today, you're going to understand why silence can be the most powerful weapon of modern seduction, and how, when you disappear in the right way, she stops everything to try to find you again. This isn't a game, this is psychology. And those who learn to master this, stop chasing and start attracting. You're always there. She sends a message and you reply within seconds. She asks for attention, you drop everything. She cancels, you understand. You give your time, your energy, your presence, as if that were enough to make someone stay. But the more you give, the less she wants. The more present you are, the more invisible you become. The mistake isn't in the affection, it's in the predictability. The human brain rejects what is guaranteed. It desires what seems slippery. And you, with your eternal availability, have turned into a routine. And routine, my friend, doesn't seduce. It numbs. She knew that all she had to do was snap her fingers, and you'd come. She knew she could disappear, and you'd run after her. She didn't need to imagine anything about you, because it was all there, laid out. She didn't need to ask where you were, who you were with, what you were feeling. You anticipated answers to questions she hadn't even asked. And what does her brain do with that? It puts you in the same place where she stores notifications from an app she no longer uses. Predictable, accessible, uninteresting. It's cruel, but it's real. The human mind needs contrast. It needs uncertainty. It needs variation. It needs mystery. And while you were focused on showing that you were the ideal man, you forgot the basic principle of attraction. No one desires what they feel they completely possess. And it's right here that silence comes into play. Because what she can't control, she starts to desire. And when you stop explaining yourself, she starts asking her own questions. When you stop explaining yourself, she begins to ask her own questions. And that's when her brain goes into alert mode. Because the human being doesn't deal well with empty spaces. It fills them. When you go silent, she projects. When you disappear, she fantasizes. And what's imagined is always more powerful than what's real. The explanation for this lies in dopamine, the neurotransmitter of desire. Contrary to what many think, dopamine isn't released when we receive something. It's activated in the expectation of receiving, in suspense, in anticipation. And that's exactly what silence creates, a void where the brain starts to run, trying to predict, understand, decipher. It's like an addiction, and neuroscience has a name for it: intermittent stimulation. It's when the reward doesn't come all the time, nor in the same way. Sometimes it arrives, sometimes it doesn't. This unpredictable pattern of being there and then disappearing is what activates the parts of the brain tied to attachment, obsession, and even compulsive behavior. It's not constant affection that generates desire. It's the absence that comes after presence. Think about the apps you use most. Social media, messaging, notifications. What do they all have in common? They don't reward you all the time. They make you wait. They make you imagine. And when the notification finally arrives, dopamine spikes. Now, apply this to seduction. The more predictable you are, the less impact you have. The more mysterious you become, the more space she has to idealize you. And when she idealizes, she fills the silence with her own desires, what she wants you to be, what she thinks is happening. And in this process, you become not just desired, but necessary. She begins to idealize. And it's at this point that the game changes. Because now, you have control. But be careful. Silence isn't disappearance. Silence isn't ignoring. Silence is strategic presence. It's the art of creating absence with intention. You need to understand when to disappear, for how long, and most importantly, why you're doing it. The first rule is simple: never disappear in times of tension. If you've had an argument, if she's upset, if there's unresolved conflict, disappearing feels like punishment. And punishment doesn't seduce, it distances. Effective silence happens at the peak of predictability, when everything is fine, when she thinks she has you, when you've become routine. It's at this moment that absence gains power. Second rule: timing matters. A disappearance of a few hours can be more impactful than days of silence if it comes at the right moment. A delayed response, a scene left hanging, a night where you don't appear online. Details, but these details provoke the emotional rebound. Her brain starts firing questions. Has he lost interest? Is he with someone else? Have I lost control? And guess what? Dopamine works for you. Third rule, reappear lightly, no long explanations. No apologies. Come back as if time flowed naturally, because the power of silence lies in the contrast. You step away, and then show up with a comment that breaks the ice. No weight, no pressure. This shows that you're in control, and that your absence was never an accident. It was a choice. Mastering silence is about moving from the realm of reaction to the territory of influence. You're not playing with words, you're playing with imagination. And when she misses you, she starts chasing something that may have never been yours completely. He was exactly like you, always there, always available. She liked him, but couldn't feel that thing that drives desire, tension. Until the day he simply stopped. No drama, no declarations. He just exited the scene, disappeared from online, stopped responding with the same urgency. He didn't like her photos anymore. He didn't send that automatic good morning. He was alive but absent, present but distant. On the first day, silence. On the second, she started checking her phone more frequently. On the third, she sent, "Hey, is everything okay?" On the fourth, she called. On the fifth, she sent a 2-minute audio saying she missed him. Absence turned into doubt. Doubt turned into desire. When he responded, he used few words. He didn't explain anything. He just smiled in a message, said he was focused on some goals, and left it hanging. That's it, hanging, and right there, the switch flipped. She started moving, trying to bring him back, sending photos, memes, memories, because he stopped being predictable and became an emotional enigma. She, who once dominated the rhythm of the connection, was now off balance, because his absence disrupted her emotional system. And in that internal chaos, all she wanted was one thing: presence. This story isn't a manual for manipulation. It's a reminder that desire needs space, and that sometimes it's in silence that the heart's cry becomes louder. But not all silence is power. Sometimes it's punishment, it's coldness, it's a dirty game, and that destroys any possibility of true connection. Effective silence comes with intention, not vengeance. If you use silence to hurt, to manipulate, to test someone, what you're creating isn't desire, it's trauma. People don't fall in love with those who constantly make them feel insecure. They may stick around for a while, but they won't stay. Silence needs to come with emotional balance. It's not a weapon, it's a technique. And techniques require control, maturity, clarity. Remember, disappearing without leaving a trace, without any previous value, doesn't create impact. It creates indifference. Disappearing when you haven't even been truly noticed is like never having existed. What triggers the rebound isn't pure silence, but the contrast between a strong presence and sudden absence. And this contrast only works when, before going silent, you made her pay attention to you. So, if you're going to use silence, let it be with emotional intelligence, with presence before absence, with intention before withdrawal. Otherwise, what should be seduction becomes rejection. You don't need to yell to be heard. Sometimes the right silence says it all. It shows that you have control over yourself, that you're not chasing, that you don't need to beg for presence because you've learned to value your own. True seduction isn't in rehearsed words, long texts, or quick responses. It's in the space you leave, in the mystery you provoke, in the void that forces the other person to seek you to fill it. Intentional absence reveals a truth. Those who master silence, master desire. And those who learn to withdraw at the right moment never need to beg for attention. If this video made you think, if you've experienced something like this, or if you want to learn how to use this weapon wisely, comment below. Silence is my new language. Subscribe to the channel because here you won't find ready-made formulas, but powerful tools. And the next one I'm going to teach you might change the way you relate to the world. Remember, you are desired when you are remembered. And you are only remembered when you have the courage to disappear.